I want you to look around. What do you see? You can see a book. You can see a table. You can look through your window and see the city, like Garowe city, a city like Nairobi. You can look around and see a car moving. All these are names, and these names are nouns. So today we want to look at nouns, what nouns are, and the types of nouns that we have in English, and their respective examples. Stay tuned, watch up to the end for you to be able to know the types of nouns in English and their respective examples. A noun is a word. A noun is a word. In English, you have what we call word classes. So a noun is a type of word that we have in English that is used to give names to people. It gives names to places or things. We can use the noun to name people, to name places, to name things. Like for example, when you want to name people, these are names of people, and we are looking at names like Hassan. You can see Hassan here. Semiyu, Abdi, Amina, and many others. These are nouns, names given to people. You can give your own names. You can mention. You can cite as many names as possible. But know that the names that you are talking about, they are nouns. These are words that are used to give names to people. Nouns can also give names to places. They can also be used to give names to places, like you can talk about places in terms of countries like Somalia. You can talk about Kenya. You can talk about places in terms of cities like Garowe, like Mogadishu, like Nairobi, and many others. So when we talk about places, we are talking about big places, small places, but the names given to those places are the ones that we are calling nouns. So nouns can give us the name of a place or the names of places. I know you know quite a number of places. You can also think of any place, like where you stay, like maybe your city, your town, your home country, any example that you can think of. But at the back of your mind, you need to remember that is a noun, a name given to a place. We can also name things, like you can see here. When we are naming things, these are general things that we talk about. You talk about a car, you talk about a chair, a pen, a book. You can talk of a boy, a house, a girl, very many. These are just things that we are talking about. So we can use nouns to also give names to things that we can be able to see. We come across these things in our houses. We come across these things at our workplaces, where we study, everywhere. So the names that we give to those things are the ones that we are calling nouns. Each thing has its own name, so that when you are talking about a car, somebody does not confuse a car with a pen. When you talk of a chair, somebody does not confuse a chair with a house, and many others. So the respective names given to the things that we are talking about, those are the nouns that we have. So I want us to talk about the types of nouns that we have in English. In English, you have two broad categories of nouns. Two broad categories of nouns. That means that we have other smaller categories or other categories of nouns, but these are the major categories of the nouns that we talk about in English. So we categorize nouns in terms of common nouns and proper nouns. So nouns are either common nouns or proper nouns. We want to see the two. What is a common noun and what is a proper noun, and what are the examples that each type has for us to be able to understand the types of nouns that we have in English and their examples in a better way. So without wasting much time, I want us to look at the first type, the common nouns. We look at common nouns as names of people or names given to people, names given to places, animals, or things, but in general. When you are talking about something that is just in general, you are referring to it as generally, you are referring to something, we are going to call it a common noun. So one of the feature that identifies a common noun is that common nouns always start with a small letter unless if they are beginning a sentence. Common nouns always start with a small letter unless they are starting a sentence. That is very important for you to understand, because if you start a sentence with a small letter, that is going to be a mistake in English. So common nouns do not start with a capital letter anywhere. It only starts with a capital letter when it comes at the beginning of the sentence. Otherwise, in other positions, in the middle of the sentence, at the end of the sentence, make sure that a common noun starts with a small letter. So among the examples of common nouns that we have, we already talked about this, but we can still do it again. We have examples like car, boy, girl, house, goat, cow, chair, and many others that you can see. So from what you are saying, we are referring to these nouns in a general way, because when you talk about a car, you are not specifying the type of car. We're just talking about a car. It can be big, it can be small. We are not so specific about the kind of car that you're talking about. You're talking about a boy. Boy, we don't know which kind of boy or which type of boy or who is this boy that we are talking about. The same thing with girl, house, goat, and many others. So we are referring to these nouns in general. And that is why anytime you are using them, like I said, make sure that you remember to use or to start with a small letter when you are writing the common nouns in the middle of the sentence or at the end of the sentence, but start with a capital letter when you are starting a sentence with the common nouns. I want you to have a look at examples in sentences. In these examples, I want you to see how we use common nouns in sentences at the beginning of the sentence, in the middle of the sentence, and at the end of the sentence, so that you see what I have been talking about. You will come to understand that when you are using common nouns only begin with the capital letter when they are coming at the beginning of the sentence. But any other position apart from the beginning of the sentence, we are going to maintain the small letters as discussed earlier. So look at example number 1. In example number 1, we are talking about the car broke down on the road. The car. Car is our common noun, and as you can see, it is starting with a small c. Then number 2, cars are very expensive. Cars is our common noun. It is starting the sentence. So therefore, when you look at it, it starts with a capital letter because the common noun is coming first. Example number 3, that boy is good. Boy is our common noun, and you can see it is not starting the sentence, so therefore we are starting with a small letter. Then number 4, boys are always good. Boys are always good. In this example, boys is our common noun. It is starting the sentence. So therefore, we start with a capital B, and many other examples that you can think of. We have very many examples, but the key thing or the most important thing that you need to remember is common nouns start with capital letters when they come at the beginning of the sentence, but in any other position, don't start with a capital letter. We move on to proper nouns, and I want you to know that proper nouns are nouns that refer to people, places, days, months, languages, and many others, but in a specific way. They give specific names to people, they give specific names to places, to the days, the months, languages, and many others. So, the key feature that will help you to identify a proper noun is that all proper nouns always start with a capital letter at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the sentence. Always start with a capital letter. Always. You need to remember that. You keep that in your mind that a proper noun must start with a capital letter anytime you are using it, all the time. So when you are talking about people, we already talked about these examples. When you talk about people, you can have examples like Hassan. These are just names of people. Abdi, Salma, you can talk of Smiu. There are very many names that you know. You can start with your own name and give very many names of people that you know. But anytime you're writing somebody's name, irrespective of where you are writing that name, you must start with a capital letter. That is a must. We also talk about places, and you can have places like Somalia, like I said, like Hargeisa, Garowe, and very many other places. We talked about places being big places, like countries. You can talk about big places like continents, big places like cities or towns, and very many other places. However small a place is, that place is a proper noun. You start with a capital letter anytime you are using it. It's very important. Then we can also talk about the days of the week. All days of the week must start with a capital letter. They are called proper nouns. So when you talk about Monday, you must start with a capital M. Tuesday starts with a capital T. Saturday starts with a capital S, and many others. All the days of the week. I'm very sure you know all the days of the week. So wherever you are writing, or whenever you are writing the days of the week, remember to start with a capital letter. Anywhere you write the days of the week. We also have the months of the year. The months starting from January to December, you start with a capital letter like January, that's capital J, February, December, October, July, any month that you're talking about, always remember to start with a capital letter because it's a proper noun. Then for languages, all of us speak different kinds of languages. That language that you speak, when you are talking about it, start with a capital letter. It's a proper noun. Like Somali, the Somali language, the English language, Arabic language, Amharic language, you can talk about the Kiswahili, you can talk about French, Italian, and very many other languages. So as long as you're talking about a language, remember, a language must start with a capital letter. It is a proper noun, plus very many other examples that you know. I am very sure you know quite a number of languages around the world. So anytime you're talking about any language that you know, please always remember to start with a capital letter. It's very important. In our example here, I wanted to take note of the proper nouns that are appearing in my example in this short paragraph. You will notice that all the proper nouns are starting with the capital letters, irrespective of where they are, and that is the key. That is what is required. Anytime you are talking about proper nouns, that is what you are expected to do. So always remember. Look at our example. Muhammad wants to travel to Mogadishu on Tuesday. Last week, he traveled to Nairobi in Kenya. He speaks both Somali and English languages very well. So in this example, Mohammed is our proper noun. That's the name of a person. It is starting with a capital M. Mogadishu is a place, starting with a capital M. Tuesday is a day, starting with a capital T. Nairobi is a place, capital N. Kenya is a place, capital K. Somali is a language, starting with a capital S, just like English is also a language, starting with a capital E. So from all these examples that you are seeing, the example that you are seeing on my screen, remember, proper nouns must start with the capital letters irrespective of where they are in the sentence. That is the rule. So as we come to the end of our lesson today on the types of nouns that we wanted to talk about today, we have talked about common nouns, we have talked about proper nouns, and we have also said that nouns are names. Nouns are names that we give to people, we give to places, we give to things. I want you to remember that going forward. You can think of very many examples of nouns. You can think of very many examples of names, names of people, names of places, names of things. You need to remember that. Use them in examples, use them in sentences for your own daily practice. The more you practice, the more you get it. Then, if this lesson has really helped you and you feel you need more and more, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. It's called Learn English with Smil on YouTube. You can subscribe so that you follow as many lessons as possible. There are quite a number there, very easy lessons and very practical. You can follow the examples up to the end. You can do it on your own. You like, share with your friends, encourage your friends to follow, encourage your friends to also join so that together we learn something. Up to that point, see you in our next lesson. Thank you.